Introduction to Computers and Information Systems. Got 2 weeks of class left. We are finishing up topics in Unit 7, and we're working on some group projects and database work. And so then today we talked about top-down design, and we talked about life cycles and systems, and we talked a little bit about bottom-up. And so I'll try to summarize this. So this whole idea here is how we would approach developing an information system, especially in areas where it's crucial that it works. For example, 911. You wouldn't want 911 to work just some of the time when you called emergencies. Or air traffic controllers. You'd want that information system to work. Or the information system that's helping a doctor do surgery on somebody. Or the information system that manages the subways in a big city like Washington, D.C. or Chicago, the L, or whatever. Then there are some systems that aren't crucial, that can be designed and it wouldn't be as big of an issue if they didn't work. So, top-down design, you look at the big picture and then break it into parts. So the first thing, investigation. What's the task we need to accomplish? What, in terms of this class, we're talking about how can information technology help us solve something. For example, bad checks. Years ago, people either paid cash or they wrote a check. Now the problem with checks are they bounce. So we have a new system that was developed that allow us to use debit cards, in which we can more easily make sure the money is there. So you have something you want to accomplish. So you do the investigation. You define the problem. What really is the problem? Then you analyze. You analyze all the different parts. Then I draw this little circle here and you get feedback. Okay? You look at how it might work, what the issues, and so forth. You do an analysis. A good example that's non-technical is you're going to build a house. Well, why would you build a house? Well, you must have some reason. You would define the situation. For example, maybe you've outgrown the house you're in, or you've been renting and now you just soon own. The analysis would be how big of a house, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and all of those things. How much can we spend? What kind of lot do we want to get? Where do we want the house? Etc., etc. Once you have all of that done, then you can design it. The same thing for an information system. Who's going to get what information where? How is the information going to flow through the business? How can we do ad hoc? What are we going to use? What information to make what decisions? We're going to expand the store, or how are we going to handle lots of airplanes that we're trying to land if the weather's bad, all the different scenarios that might come up. The design in the house example would be the blueprints. In an information system, there's all kinds of things we can use. We only gave one example in class here of flowcharts. But you design the solution. You figure out how you're going to do it. You do lots of feedback to make sure your design was correct. You always want to make sure you understand that the step before was well taken care of before moving to the next step. Because you don't want to start developing an information system if you don't really know for sure what you need to do. Development would be actually buying equipment, buying or writing software, and actually creating it. This would be actually building the house if we use a house scenario. And lots of testing would be done at this point. Once you have it built, once you have the information system pretty much built, then you look at how you're going to implement it, how you're going to put it into use. You could phase it in. Let's say your information system maybe took care of one part of a bigger picture, like an information system. You might phase in the payroll part, and then the purchase ordering part, and so forth. Or in some cases you might put it into one store or one location and see how it works. Or in some cases you just have to switch over the whole thing. You take out the old way we're doing it and just put in the new. That would be a cutover. Once you have it implemented, you do a very close evaluation to make sure it's working. Make sure it's producing the things you need, and then you get into the mode of maintaining it. Maintenance. You'll find maybe some small things or big things that don't work, and when you do that, that takes you all the way back up. This is a cycle. It takes you up back to the investigation part. You define what doesn't work, you analyze the way we want it, you design a solution, you develop the solution, then you implement the solution. And in information systems, you keep doing this, and in the world of software, they call these patches, and you keep patching it until eventually the system just isn't worth patching anymore, and then you start over. Now, another way to create an information system is bottom up. You take these three stages, investigation, analysis, and design, and you kind of lump them together, and you get a prototype up and working. And then that prototype, you continually then update it, and in some cases, even before the prototype is completely done, they might actually develop it and implement it, and then change it as they go. Now, without planning everything out ahead of time, developing a prototype could be dangerous, because if you find a major flaw in the prototype, you may have to scrap it and start completely over. An example of bottom-up that a lot of people do, PowerPoint presentations. They kind of just start it. In PowerPoint, you don't go through and create all the slides ahead of time and then create it. Most people just create it on the run. A lot of spreadsheet work's done this way. They start the spreadsheet and then they add to it and develop it as they go. This can work well in a lot of cases because it's much quicker. But in some cases, like air traffic control and many other things, running the power grid in the United States, those things we can't afford to have anything go wrong. So those need to be designed typically in a top-down fashion. And that is it for today.